But if you propose to Ben Chifley or Red Ted Theodore, a Labor government should subsidise imports, they would absolutely destroy you. They would not forget your name. They would pursue you until you were destroyed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Nick DeMeadow here. I'm the state member for Hinchinbrook, but also the Katters Australian Party Deputy Leader. This morning we're here to do the Katters Australian Party RE-KAP, which every week we recap on what our Katters Australian Party MPs have been up to out in their electorates, but also over there in Parliament, whether it's in Brisbane or down there in Canberra. And this morning I want to let you know exactly what Bob's been up to this week. It's been a sitting week in Canberra, and one of the first things, the father of the house, Bob is actually the oldest serving gentleman in the house right now. He's the father of the house. And in Parliament this week, he actually was fighting for his electorate to make sure that those that were assembled for the job summit were hearing exactly what was necessary to make sure that we've got the right jobs and the right skills in the Kennedy electorate. Part of that was Bob putting a very detailed submission together of exactly what jobs aren't in need in the electorate, but also the skill sets and the skill base that we're trying to attract. While Bob was also on his feet, I think it was just last night, Bob was actually speaking to the EV legislation that the federal government's trying to introduce right now. Now, the EV legislation, Bob questioned because we'll be basically subsidising, if the federal government gets their way, imported vehicles. And Bob asked the question, why are we subsidising electric vehicles from overseas and not investing in our own electrical vehicles being produced right here in Australia? Australia had a very proud industry here where we produced our own vehicles for nearly forever and a day. But the reality is everything now is basically imported, and Bob wants to see a stop to that.
Now, there's a bloke called Ben Chifley. In my book, he's the Prime Minister without peer because he built the Australian motor car, the Holden. But if you propose to Ben Chifley or Red Ted Theodore, a Labor government should subsidise imports, they would absolutely destroy you. They would not forget your name. They would pursue you until you were destroyed.
Bob also addressed the Prime Minister directly in question time, asking when is the Prime Minister going to actually address the cost of living crisis that Australians, everyday working class Australians, are facing right now.
PM, is our country in pain? Free markets save the planet. Our housing prices up 500%, cars 800, electricity and health insurance 400, yet our average weekly earnings up only 215%. PM, action when? Action when?
The member's time has well and truly finished.
Now, it's been week on, week off for state parliament, and this week we've been back in the electorates. And Robbie Katter, he started in Mount Isa this week, and the first event that he found himself at was the Good Shepherd Parish Multicultural Festival. And he spent some time there with the community and got around and really got to put his finger on the pulse of what's been going on in Mount Isa. Then he flew back to Townsville on the Sunday to attend with myself, Shane Canoof, the Cowboys season wrap-up ball. Now, that presentation dinner was actually quite a gala event, and the Cowboys have a lot to celebrate this year, finishing in the top 4 in the NRL. A massive achievement, and we want to wish the Cowboys all the very best as they head into finals season footy. While Robbie was in town this week, we bolted him down here in the KAP studios, and we got another podcast out of him now. Robbie's been putting these great podcasts together for some time now, and his latest one is Cancel Culture and the War on Reason. This will be a great one to tune in for, and it's available through our YouTube channel. Robbie wasn't on the ground long this week. He was back up in the air in his little Mazda 121 with wings, the little Mooney, the 4-seater that he flies around. Geez, it scares the hell out of me. But he landed that little sucker in the middle of Palm Island this week. He also headed up to Yarrabah near Cairns, and he also flew back to Mount Isa to go on the road with his blue card legislation that he's got before Parliament and the committee at the moment. Now, this blue card legislation is to help people in Indigenous communities get into gainful employment, and most people that live in an Indigenous or a remote Indigenous community are looking for work. That's the most number one thing they're looking for, and they need some amendments to the blue card legislation to help them access that. While Robbie's been back in Mount Isa this week, he's had to deal with an acute problem around youth crime. The problem with youth crime in Mount Isa right now, it's not only affecting residents, but it's affecting visitors in the tourism industry in Mount Isa. And some negative reviews about Mount Isa on TripAdvisor have surfaced this week and has been highlighted through a couple of papers across Queensland. This is a problem that the state government must address immediately. The Premier must be addressing this because her state ministers are not.
The Traeger MP fears the worsening perception of youth crime could be impacting North Queensland tourism operators, as it has in his electorate.
When the comments come in that say advising people not to stay, that should be of great concern, not just for the representatives of this area, but for the government.
In recent months, Mount Isa businesses have been flooded with negative reviews on TripAdvisor. One traveller wrote, "We booked a site for 3 nights but left after 2. I really hate to leave bad reviews, and this one is based pure and simply on the youth crime."
We've got some great tourism assets here and some great operators that put so much energy in, and the nature of the complaints have been, look, we love the place, the service was great, and we just had a problem with the youth crime.
While I've got you all in front of me, I must ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to Facebook if you're seeing this out on Facebook or out there on the social media channels. It's the best way to keep up to date with what KAP and their MPs are up to on a weekly basis. Before I get into this one, happy Father's Day to all our fathers out there for last Sunday. It's a tough job being a dad, and just want to make sure that everyone out there is felt like they've been wished a happy Father's Day from the KAP. Shane actually got an opportunity to spend time at Mission Beach at the Rotary Park Markets on Father's Day this week, and he got an opportunity then to head up to Herberton. Herberton, they had their garden club 76th anniversary. Now, Herberton is a brilliant little place. Herberton Historical Village is something that if you haven't been up there before, go and check that out. It's pretty spectacular. Definitely a tourism attraction. While Shane was in Tully this week, part of the Hill electorate, he pulled into the Miller State School fancy dress ball, and I believe Shane was even one of the judges. After returning from Parliament this week, I had a pretty busy weekend. We slipped straight into the 140th birthday for the local Townsville Chamber of Commerce. Now, congratulations to the Chamber of Commerce and also all the winners from the business awards that happened on Friday night. That happened at the Townsville Helicopters hangar. It was absolutely a beautiful gala event. Sunday night, myself, Robbie and Shane, as I said earlier, slipped over to the Cowboys function for their presentation night. It was great to see Jason Tamalalu come away with the Paul Bowman Medal, a deserving 6-time Paul Bowman Medal awardee. Congratulations. Monday morning, it was straight back into work for the KAP team, and the first thing we did Monday morning was address the crime scourge that's got Queensland in its grip right now. And in regional Queensland, we're seeing 18 Queensland Police Service districts that are higher than double the state's average when it comes to crime and youth crime. And one thing that we've done this week is call on the state government, and to be fair, I think it's pretty much a drop in the ocean compared to what we've asked to before when it comes to addressing the crime problem. We've called for things like relocation sentencing. We've also called for mandatory sentencing for unlawful use of a motor vehicle or break and enters. Now, those things haven't been adopted by the state government, so we've asked for a small thing. We're asking for $1,500 out of a $10 million pool to have a dollar-for-dollar rebate for anyone that's actually had to put cameras up or security systems or even security measures to protect either their small business or their home. Now, people might ask, you should be making sure that there's tougher laws out there to make sure these criminals are behind bars. Well, if you talk to any QPS officer, most of the time they'll say is we need to have the evidence there to put these people behind bars for longer. By gathering that evidence through CCTV footage will ensure that the public prosecutor has the evidence to put these people behind bars where they belong.
This early morning ram raid on a motorbike dealership caused more damage to the building than the theft of the single bike the thieves stole.
It's a major inconvenience to the dealership every time.
It's the third time the business has been targeted in the past fortnight.
The owners of the dealership are quite frustrated.
Stories like these have prompted the Katters Australian Party to prompt for a new policy to tackle skyrocketing property crime.
This idea has been born out of frustration. To be completely fair and honest, this is a mere drop in the ocean.
Get some outcome for the north at the moment, given that the government keeps putting their head in the sand and sucking their thumb in fetal position.
Mr Katter wants to see a $10 million fund established to reimburse any business that has upgraded its security system.
It should definitely be retrospective. A lot of people spent a lot of money already.
The party wants the $1,500 grants to be rolled out to Townsville, Palm Island, Cairns, Mackay and Woorabinda.
While I was back in the Hinchinbrook electorate this week, we addressed the problem that we've had with TAFE for some time at the Ingham campus. Now, not taking away from the hard work that the local TAFE employees do, but the reality is the TAFE courses that have been on offer has dwindled over the years. And we sat down with industry and TAFE representatives to make sure that we had the round table necessary to start the conversation between schools, employers and in industry to find out what are the actual courses that are needed to fill the job and the skills shortage that we have locally at the moment, but also ensure that we have the opportunity for our youth to train locally instead of having to travel to Brisbane, Cairns or Townsville. This morning it's Friday, of course, and after I finish this podcast, I'll be up there in Ingham making sure that I'm playing my part in the Youth Parliament. Myself and the Mayor, Raymond J.O., an absolute legend, will be there chairing and being the Deputy Chair as I'm the Chair for this Youth Parliament. This will be a great opportunity for our youth, our school kids to get a better understanding of not only how Parliament works, but how to debate and put a good argument together when it comes to getting your point across. Maybe our future leaders and a future member for Hinchinbrook right there in that group, hopefully. I'll need to retire at some stage. And Saturday, I'm looking forward to Saturday, which is tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll be going to the Rolling Stone Pineapple Festival. Now, this has been on hiatus for the last 2 years because of COVID. We had a late cancellation last year, and this year it's going to be back and forth. So this is where we actually celebrate everything pineapple around the district, but also it's a great thing for the kids to get out there, and there's plenty of activities and markets for everyone else. On Sunday, it's going to be another big day, so I'll be up there at the Herbert River Gun Club for their 2-day shoot, and I'll be presenting the awards at 2 o'clock, and then jumping straight in the car and be back in Townsville by 3:30 to see the Crushers A-grade team play the Townsville Brothers team. Now, this is the grand final for the local fixtures, and we'll be right behind the Crushers, and I say up the Crushers and down the fish. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's recap. I'm glad you've had the opportunity to tune in and see what we've all been up to. I wish us all a very happy weekend, whether you're working or you're having some time off with the family. I hope you enjoy the coming weekend, and we'll see you all next Friday. Cheers.